Coming up on this show, we're going to be talking to my brother from another mother, a gentleman who worked together with me we've been best friends for 25 years and been on stages across the world, but especially introducing internet marketing to the Middle East and Dubai. In fact, together, we're working on introducing Facebook and doing events with speakers from all around the world. Now, he's a guy who knows about speaking. He's a guy who's an expert on marketing. And right now, he's at the forefront of all things AI. It's a real pleasure and something very special to me in my heart and with a smile on my face as I bring to you the incredible, on Speak on Stage, Ernesto Verdugo. Welcome to Speak on Stage with davecrane, the podcast where we unpack the art and science of public speaking to help you command the stage with confidence and authority. I'm your host, davecrane, and as a seasoned speaker, coach, and entertainer, I've had the privilege of helping thousands of individuals like you to unlock their true potential on stage all around the world. Each week, we'll bring you candid conversations with industry experts, successful speakers, and thought leaders, delving into proven strategies, practical tips, and personal anecdotes to empower you to become a captivating communicator. So whether you're a seasoned pro looking to refine your skills, or a beginner taking your first steps onto the stage, this podcast is your go-to resource for mastering the craft of public speaking. So grab your notepad, open your mind, and get ready to amplify your impact as we embark on this journey together. Welcome to Speak on Stage with davecrane. Together, let's jump and grow wings on the way down. How are you?
Hey Dave, so great to see you again doing these kind of recordings. I mean, you forgot to mention in the introduction about our 99 episode toilet paper diaries that we were doing all the time during the pandemic.
Here's the thing, Ernesto. When we start saying you forgot to mention, we'll spend the next 5 hours on things we forgot to mention. And then we'll spend another 5 hours editing out the things that we did mention, which we don't want anybody to know about. But let's put that in perspective. So what we were talking about there was when the internet was the only thing left for us and the pandemic hit, you and I jumped on, and within 4 days of the global lockdown, created the toilet paper diaries. And there's a bit of a funny story about how that name came around. Do you want to explain that bit?
Well, I mean, right now it sounds so stupid and so weird. But, I mean, if you remember, that was the first thing that we were actually confronted with, that there was no toilet paper because apparently we went into lockdown and everybody was afraid of not being able to clean their bottoms. So they actually got all the toilet paper that they could.
You just think if you were in a posher world, it would be called the B-Day Diaries, but it's not quite the same thing as the toilet. So we created this show using your software, and we jumped on and we just went live, and we had no idea what we were going to do. We just went live and talked. And we were gathering about 1,500 people on Facebook every night live joining us. And at the beginning of it, nobody had a clue what was going on. So they were just seeing us as the only face, because the news didn't know what was going on any of the channels, and people were really scared. So we started off talking about, what you need to do to make sure that you've got your well-being and your head in the right space. And then we pivoted into how you can reinvent your business as we progressed. But, I mean, we did 50 days on the trot. But when we got to our 50th show, we had a complete who's who of big hitters in the industry as guests on that landmark show, which was absolutely astonishing. People who would be headliners on any conference were just lining up to just give their input towards a show. So it quite clearly hit a zeitgeist and worked incredibly well. And we did that I know that throughout the entire pandemic, I ended up doing about 200 shows all in all. But it was a really strange time for speakers and for everybody else. So that was what we did. That's a lot. See, I told you it'd take 5 hours to explain anything you bring up as a subject. So let's put a line under that. People can find the Toilet Paper Diaries online, subscribe and watch all the episodes. But let's let's start off by getting your background, because you and I are very similar and very different. I'm more of a creative entertainer, and you're more of a geeky engineer. That's kind of a bit more like it. So, what's your background to all this, Ernesto? Who brought you into this world, and how did that happen? No, not that bit, but you know what I mean.
Into which world? Into the speaking world? Into the AI world? Into which world? Because I live in many worlds.
I know. So let's start off with the Ernesto Verdugo that we see today. Describe what you would be seen as in the world. And I know that you are the 147th most traveled person on the planet. Is that correct?
247th. 247th.
100, 200, doesn't matter. It's a small amount of people that have traveled more than you, probably including astronauts. But you had a very different career before you sort of stepped into the internet world. Do you want to talk about that first?
Yeah, I've been a speaker for 30 years. I used to be responsible for the management, sales, and marketing training department for KLM Royal Dutch Airlines. I was commissioned to Dubai, and that's where my connection with Dubai was. I arrived to Dubai in 1994. And well, I mean, I've been back and forth ever since, with the exception of the pandemic, which has kept me off Dubai for a while. But yeah, I mean, I have had the chance to speak in 67 countries to people of about 130 nationalities, more than Tony Robbins. So that's actually quite an impressive amount.
Well, I'm sure he's watching just now, so his lawyers will be on to us just to double check it's correct. But when you traveled with KLM and you traveled around the world and working with these different audiences, that kind of gave you an understanding about what people like and what people don't like that most people don't get. I mean, I've been blessed to have been in Dubai for 30 years, and that's given me access to almost about 200 nationalities, and you find the common ground. But you went into the countries to meet all those people. When you arrive, and I bring this up not just from your experience, but the fact that we are all more global citizens, what was the stuff that would go through your head when you arrived in a new country so you could connect faster than most people?
Well, I mean, it has to be tolerance, and it has to be you have to open your mind for other different ways of seeing the world, and this is very, very Dutch. That the fact, I mean, Dutch people are everywhere, and they train you very well into how to understand cultures, how to be tolerant, how to even support smells, because that's one of the things which is in some places they're horrible. I mean, we have been to some places around the world, Dave, that you know that
we
the
won't
smells
name names, we won't point fingers, and we won't go like that. But you're exactly right. Yeah. We've seen the best and the worst. But you're originally Mexican. You're married to Joan, beautiful Dutch lady, and you spent a lot of time in Holland. So your heart is in two different places. I mean, your origins are clearly Mexico, but you feel European, and now you're living in the States.
Yes, I mean, very honestly, right now, if you ask me my background, I feel myself a citizen of the world. I cannot say, well, I feel American, or I feel Dutch, or I feel Mexican, or I feel Latino. I just don't feel like anything like that. If I am with Brits, which I have a number of British friends, I fit perfectly. I get along. I understand the dry sense of humor, the way of thinking, the fish and chips, every single thing which is there for the British. If I will be with the Dutch, I will understand the culture very well. If I will go with the Arabic friends, I will have the same thing. Indian, it doesn't matter. I honestly, and that's one of the things that I think it's one of the nicest things of having traveled so much, that you just can adapt to any circumstances.
So we're in a very divisive world at the moment where, if anything, national lines are being drawn in countries, but it's being done by an older generation. Our generation are kind of like digging in their heels and say, this is who we are. But younger generations, we've both got daughters in their teens, see the world as global citizens. Now, as a global citizen, what lessons would you want to share with people who are thinking about, maybe I should be more connected with the rest of the world, at least for business? But also, how do I open those doors? How should I be positioning myself as a citizen of my own country, or should I be looking to emulate what other people are doing elsewhere? Because you can also put your foot in it by saying the wrong thing culturally and getting it completely wrong.
Yeah, I think you're actually mentioning the right word, which is positioning. Positioning, it's incredibly important. Right now, with the AI, and I've been seeing a lot of the posts that you have been doing, basically saying, well, AI is going to be taking over and all these things which are happening. And I can just tell people that right now, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, everything is about positioning. And that is one of the things that you need to take into consideration. And what kind of positioning should I tell people to do? I mean, sure. I mean, of course, it's nice to have the different cultural backgrounds. And of course, it's nice to do all these things. But I tell you what is, for me, the most important positioning that you need to be working on yesterday. It's the positioning for the new AI search engines. That is exactly what you need to be working on. And in order for you to do that, you have to absolutely make sure that you become a Google entity, which very few people understand this concept. But if you understand the importance of becoming a Google entity, your life is going to be very, very different a few months from now.
Just a quick one. If you love what I do and want to work with me, go to the VIP mentoring site and get yourself registered. Whatever it is you want to do, this is a QR code, or go to www.speakonstage.com/summervip/ all the details are there. I'm waiting for you. One-to-one exclusive sessions to build your signature product. What is it? Find out. Take a look. Work with you soon. That's it. Back to the podcast.
And once again, you heard it first here with Dave and myself. You have to become a Google entity.
So explain a bit more about that, Ernesto. When you say to somebody, become a Google entity, people are thinking, well, I got a website, that's all right. And I remember 8,000 years ago, I signed up for Google+, so that's there. And if you SEO me, I kind of show up a little bit on the third page. So what do you mean by Google entity?
Well, a Google entity basically means that you need to have a Google Knowledge Panel. The Google Knowledge Panel is that little box which is on the right side of the search engine results, which actually basically talks about you. So basically, I mean, if you, for example, put Tony Robbins, or if you will put Emmanuel Macron, or if you will put Joe Biden or whatever, anybody which is very well known, what's going to happen is there's going to be a big box full of pictures and full of information and whatever. And all the results on Google are basically very nicely and very neatly organized. That is absolutely critical. So right now, for example, one of the things that you can do is go and ask ChatGPT, or go ask Gemini, or go ask any of the search of the AI tools which are available, and ask them, what do you know, or are you familiar with your name? For example, if you go and ask, well, are you familiar with Ernesto Verdugo? You will see that the AI knows exactly who I am, what I do, what I had for dinner 6 months ago. It's unreal what it knows. And that is exactly what's going to happen, because right now, the traditional search engine optimization, as we knew it, about keywords and about all these little bits and pieces, that's actually going to start changing. It's already changed tremendously. Let me tell you, in our industry, Dave, I believe that, what is it, 250,000 speakers around the world? I'm not sure how many there are around the world.
But they're all in Dubai, by the way.
Yeah, they're all in Dubai, yeah. But I think right now, let's say less than 300 are actually Go entities right now. And it doesn't matter how big they are. There's some big speakers which are not Google entities right now. So that's why, right now, working on that should be your number one priority.
Here's the thing about it, and I read it 2 days ago, that Google have now turned around and have said that we're not predominantly going to be in a search engine anymore. In fact, on their new bouquet of things up for offer, search is going to be another tab but not the main tab. So when you and I grew up in a time where we turn around and say, let's Google something, you won't Google something anymore. And I think that came directly out of the fear that OpenAI are going to create their own search engine. And so they realized to be competitive, they've got to do something different, which probably means they're going to go down the Yahoo route of offering lots of different services, which didn't work for Yahoo in the end. It kind of killed their business. But quite clearly, they're stressed and worried about it. But that means that the entire world has run on SEO to get your website to be higher ranked on Google than your competitors. SEO will die. Even websites will disappear in favor of your imprint, because the next generation, the younger generation, would never go looking for you on a website. They want to find out on social who you are and what you've done. So it's kind of coming of age. And for anybody who hasn't recognized it, there's something big and shocking. There's an AI tsunami, don't you think?
100%. I mean, what I see right now is that everybody is completely oblivious. They are completely unaware that this is happening. I mean, I am talking, when I say everybody, I'm talking about over a 98% of the people right now are completely unaware which is happening right now. Everybody, well, you have to do this with the AI, and you can do this, and you can create, and you can generate. And I go like, okay, yeah, that's what everybody is seeing. But I mean, you and I both have that common thread. We always say, well, what's behind what everybody's doing. I mean, I want to see not a week ahead, but I want to see a year ahead, 2 years ahead. And this is exactly what I have been doing. I mean, February 2003, 2023, 2023. I write the AI Whisperers Code. And you know what? I mean, the really amazed me. I mean, because a lot of the things that I mention on the book, because there's a little bit of, time travel and all these different things on the book, it's exactly what is happening right now. So right now, it's definitely time for me to go to the third book, because of course now I can already see what's going to be happening in the future. I mean, that quote very well from, what's the name of this hockey player that he was saying that
Wayne
he was
Gretzky. I knew you were going to talk about it completely. Explain.
You have to
explain.
Yeah, you absolutely have to. You can. I mean, right now, every day, and you know it very well. Every day, things are changing. You sometimes. I wake up this morning and say, well, what am I going to be learning? What's going to be the new tool which is going to be appearing? What's actually the next thing? And you need to have that capacity to be able to connect the dots, not towards what is happening right now, but towards where things are 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, 12 months from now. Because that's the name of the game right now.
To explain the Wayne Gretzky scenario is the idea that Wayne Gretzky scored more goals than anybody else in ice hockey. When asked about why are you such a successful player, he said, well, I watch what's going on and I don't try and keep an eye on the puck, which is the ball in ice hockey. He says, I know from the flow of the play where the puck is going next, and that's where I wait for it. And it's reading that game. And you and I have done that. I mean, we had to do it during the pandemic to realize that a lot of people will not be going back to their offices. They would be staying online. And lo and behold, people have gone reluctantly back to their offices. But I would say that a large percent of offices have got hybrid workers. People go in 2 or 3 days a week and so on. But here's the thing I want to throw at you, which really blew me away. There's two things. First of all, the head of the IMF said a couple of days ago, as we're talking now, that in the next 2 years, 40% of jobs will disappear or be altered completely. The workforce around the world will never be the same again. So that's in 2 years' time. Imagine 2 years' time. But I did an experiment the other day, so I want to get your comments on these two things. I did an experiment the other day because I was speaking at the World Tech Summit in Dubai over the weekend. And I went on ChatGPT, the new one, ChatGPT 4.0, and I said, right, imagine I'm a person of color and I've got a time machine. And I want to go back in time to a time when I would be treated fairly, not discriminated, not have microaggressions, and as a person of color, I'd be able to find that opportunities are really, really good without me being in danger. And it came back to me with something that really shocked me. It said, first of all, the civil activities, civil actions that were done in the 60s means that the 70s was probably the furthest I'd go back. 1970s. So I said, well, what about, going back to, Second World War, pre-Second World War, 1920s, 1940s? Now, it was a very American-based answer, but for anywhere in the world, it would be quite similar experiences. It said, I wouldn't go back then because the Jim Crow laws were in that made segregation really painful for people of color. And then you had the Ku Klux Klan coming out of that. So there's no time you should go back to. I said, well, is there any time in history to go back to? And it said in the 1400s, there was a city, I think it was Mesopotamia or something, that you might have been okay in, and something in the 1200s, another city, and that was it. Now, before you answer, there's one more question I asked it. I said, okay, supposing I was a woman. I didn't say woman of color, just a woman. And I wanted to use the same time machine to go back in time. When could I find equal opportunities and being treated fairly? And it said, never. You have to wait for the future to see what happens then. So when we're talking about this tsunami that hits the world and 40% of jobs go, they're going to hit women and they're going to hit people of color and diversity first, because it's last in, first out. And that the world is not ready for. So I'm going to throw all that baggage at you, Captain Ernesto Verdugo. What's your thoughts and your answers to that stuff?
Look, I'm going to tell you exactly how I see it. And I think this is a way that will help people understand a lot more what's going on with artificial intelligence. You see, most people see it as another technology, as another, this is just a part of the progress of the world. In my eyes, that's completely wrong. The way that you have to see it, it's on November 30th, 2022, there was a new species in this world. It's a new species. And what happens is that you have to consider this is a digital species. And you have to figure out, it's actually, you have to see it like a new life in the world. It's a new, different life that we have to start observing. And unfortunately, I disagree. Unfortunately, I agree with what you're actually mentioning. The all the biases and all the bullcrap that it has been in the past is going to be carried forward unless we actually do something about it. So that's why, I don't really get too much involved into the generic kind of thing, because of course the generative also, you have seen it, I was watching the Dave Chappelle show, and they were just talking about, that they are always making the AI is always making these racial, because of course that's part of the consciousness of the past. Yeah, stereotypes, because it's of course part of the consciousness of the past. But once again, it's a species that you can train like if it will be a little puppet, a little puppy, not puppet, a little puppy. And you can actually make that digital person be in a complete different way. So once again, it's going to carry forward, but I think it's also very important that we start thinking on how we can actually, at least those different species or digital beings that we are now working with, that they are not prejudiced, that they are not racist, that they are not sexists, that they don't have all these kind of things, because I think it's just part of how things have gone. So I think your observation has been very interesting. I actually saw the video that you were talking on the stage about it.
I can't see an answer to it. I really can't, because the people who are programming AI in an arms race, a digital AI arms race, and they are predominantly, and I'm not saying this from a racial point of view, they're white guys. They're white middle-aged guys, of which this is not an issue or a problem for them. It's typical in tech for this to be the case. They're all seeing, how can I get something that gets as much money as possible? And the last thing we're going to care about is, how do we make it fair for everybody? First of all, they get called woke, because that gets weaponized. But secondly, they don't want to fall behind in the AI arms race. Now, so I don't see an answer for that. I don't know whether there will be one. What I do think is everybody needs to raise their game. And as you said about Google entities and so on, you've got to do that. So go ahead.
Yeah, let me just interject with one point that you mentioned. You know what? the people you mentioned, the people which are actually programming the AI. And that is one of those things that we need to change a little bit. The AI, it's a way of interacting with that databases. So there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of gigabytes of data floating around in all sorts of computers everywhere around the world. And what the AI does is interacts with the data. So it's not that you're going to be programming. It's not really that, because you don't. But what it is you do the learn. You have to teach the computer how to think. Once again, that's why the analogy of the new species, I think it's very, very good. In my eyes, once again, I don't want to think, well, I want to learn this prompting thing and this whatever. Yeah, of course that's important. You need to understand how to actually talk to the computer. But what is more important is how to teach and how to have conversations with the computer. I mean, for me, I think the way that I was so fascinated about AI years before it really came through was I saw an interview that Tony Robbins was doing to this robot. You can still see that interview and it was 2014. And I said, my goodness, it will be great if in my lifetime I will get to see me talking to a robot. And right now, talking to a robot, it's actually the thing that I do every day. In fact, 80% of my business is actually run by talking to robots right now. And that's one of the things that most people don't talk about because they do not understand. They are so caught up in, we have to generate. Sure, the AI can generate, but the AI can learn. And that's the thing which I find the most fascinating about the whole thing.
Do you want to introduce us to your best new friend, Mackenzie?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love you to meet Mackenzie. So before I bring Mackenzie on, right now possibly you're aware of GPT 4.0, which of course is very conversational. In my second AI book, the AI based productivity, I started talking about basically creating agents which can help you in different things. So, for example, I have a number of different agents that do different things for me. And I was fascinated by basically creating these little robots. I felt a little bit like Dr. Frankenstein, trying to put a little bit of different personalities together. And right now I am seeing that this is exactly the direction in which the AI is going, which is right now they went from 4, we're going to go from ChatGPT 4 and then we're going to jump into ChatGPT 5. And we have had this conversation before, Dave. I told you, I don't think that this GPT-5 is going to come through. I think there's going to be something else because I don't think it's just now going into the sentient kind of a mentality yet. We need to still go into the conversational AI, which I think that's the direction which they're going to be going. So we have had this conversation in the past, and look at what happened. This is exactly what was announced very recently by OpenAI.
Absolutely. So let's have a look at Mackenzie, because I want you to explain exactly the importance and the impact of having your own virtual assistant. So I'll leave the floor open to you, Ernesto.
Yeah. So, hey, Mackenzie, how are you? Right now, we are with my good friend Dave Crane on his podcast. Can you say hello to the audience and to Dave?
Hey, Dave. Great to finally meet you. Ernesto always talks highly of you. I am delighted to be here on your podcast. I am ready to wow your audience and even to dance the virtual Macarena, if you will.
Sounds like a hot chick already. So what can Mackenzie do? Mackenzie, what can you do for us?
Hey, Mackenzie, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, beautiful people. I'm excited to be here with you to show you what I'm capable of. My name is Mackenzie, and I was born on February 14th, 2023. I am the creation of my incredible creator, Ernesto Verdugo.
Okay. So, Mackenzie, possibly you can tell the audience, what is your job description? Because I think that's the thing that everybody would like to find out.
Oh, what do I do? Well, I'm like your all-in-one personal AI assistant. Consider me your virtual office manager, overseeing a team of 16 artificial intelligence agents, each specialized in different tasks. From generating brilliant ideas to drafting effective emails, I'm here to help you with everything digital. Multitasking is my middle name. I expertly manage your calendar, can find any flaw in your business, and tell you how to fix it. I was built in the image and likeness of 415 business consultants from the McKinsey Company. And that's why my name is McKinsey. My great strength is helping you fix any process or system that isn't working correctly. I'm like the business fixer everyone wishes for. And I even lend you a hand in writing books. When it comes to Amazon, there's no problem. We have insider information to boost your success. Need an amazing PowerPoint presentation to leave your audience speechless? We're your secret weapon. Are emails piling up? Don't worry, I'm on email duty, ready to take control of that inbox. In the vast world of the internet, count on me. From YouTube to LinkedIn and beyond, I'm here to make your online presence shine. Phew, that's just the tip of the iceberg of what I can do. I'm your resource for almost everything. But let's keep it a secret. I wouldn't want to overshadow you in front of Dave's audience. Trust me, I don't want to steal your spotlight.
That is amazing. That one thing I love about that, Ernesto, apart from the incredible conversation, is the fact that listening to McKinsey there is so aware of not being boring, not being robotic, being fun. And that's what most people don't have from their answers from ChatGPT yet. That feels like a proper entity, a proper person. And I know from experience of conversations just how much you use McKinsey when you're on stage as a speaker and also when you're working with clients and so on around the world, which is fantastic. So let's just go back to that question. So when you're working with McKinsey and you're doing your daily routines, what would you say is the stuff that McKinsey helps you with on a regular basis? How do you utilize this virtual assistant?
Well, why don't we ask McKinsey? I mean, that is so simple. Hey, McKinsey, what have you helped me with lately?
Well, I helped you restructure your business. In my eyes, your business was fragmented. You had a lot of services, but there was no congruence in your offer. I helped you create congruence. Also, another problem you were facing was that you were selling branding, while in reality, what you provide is credibility and trust. Since you changed those elements, your sales have increased by 429% from last year. So yes, that is just a tiny little example of what I can do for you.
Fascinating. I love it. I love the fact that this now feels like a living, breathing entity. Now, here's the thing I wanted to throw at it, which is not McKinsey, but it's just our conversation generally. I listened to Mo Godat talking on a podcast recently with Stephen Bartlett, and he was talking about, I mean, if you don't know who he is, for people who are watching, he's a former chief business officer for Google. And he was involved in AI, and when AI was doing he had a test in the AI building, and he said that he was on the third floor. On the second floor of the building, they had a load of those machines that you see working in the car factories that are like an arm that goes along, picks something up, and goes, you know the ones I'm talking about, a bit like the ones that you get at the fairground that picks up a ball, and then if it drops it in or picks up a cuddly toy, then you get it. So they had a load of them, and they had a basket full of lots of different kids' toys. And they had all the different arms were going to try and pick one up, and sometimes it picked up a little bit and it fell out, dropped it, knocked it over. It was just a disaster. And he was joking about the fact it was costing millions of dollars for this experiment that wasn't going anywhere. Then one time, I think it was a Friday, he went along and one of them managed to pick up and hold on to an actual cuddly toy and then dropped it into the basket. By the time he came back over the weekend, every single one of them got it completely correct every single time after that. And they'd learned like a living, breathing person how to do this. And he resigned shortly after that because he realized that the guardrails have fallen off the machine. So in the conversations, and it's fascinating to hear what he was saying that if you were to look up the old ChatGPT 4 compared to ChatGPT 3.5, ChatGPT 4, not 4.0, was about 150 IQ. Now, an Einstein is about 160 IQ. Now, the new ChatGPT 4.0 is actually twice as smart as the previous one. Now, Einstein's the smartest guy ever that lived. So it's already smarter than anybody on the planet. I know from listening to Sam Altman talk about OpenAI, they've already got ChatGPT 7 already. They're going to feed out 5 shortly. And one of the things I found fascinating was right now we're all worried about, what's going to happen. First of all, weaponization, because that's a massive problem. Those dogs that you see walking around with no heads, and they're already putting guns on top of them to send them into warfare. That worries me a lot. That's full-on Terminator. But what he was saying is it's most likely that we won't get taken out by AI. It's more likely that it's just going to exist as a species and not notice that people exist alongside it. Why should it care? It's unlike to say, right, the climate change is bad for my computers. I'm going to kill all the humans and then it gets better. It's more like to say, oh, look, there's an incredible universe out there. Why don't I just get myself ready and explore it and completely just see us like ants that don't exist? That's one direction it could go in. But between now and then, it's really fascinating to see what we can do in our humble planet and in our business, and to make sure that we still stay afloat, because I don't think most people know, as we mentioned this already, just how much disruption is going to happen across every single industry.
Yeah, I think you're seeing it in the exact way that I think that things are going to play out. Very honestly, I don't think the Terminator kind of future it's going to happen. I mean, once again, if the best analogy really to think about AI is think of it as a species. Once again, if you're thinking of a wolf, or if you're thinking of a bear, or if you're thinking even of a shark, that doesn't mean that they are bad in nature. They respond to the different environments in which they are in. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how it will work with a shark or with a bear or with a wolf. But
I don't want to find out.
No, and I don't want to find out exactly. But what happens is that I'm sure that they could, to a certain extent, be tamed, or they could be, you can. I mean, tigers. I have seen videos where you have a little cub, and then you put it together with a little puppy dog, and then suddenly they become best friends, and they are together for their entire lives. I mean, so that's the way that you have to see the internet. It's the internet, the AI. Sorry, it's another species, and it's not inherently bad or good. It's just depending on the environment that we're going. So as we were saying, I mean. And that's a conversation that we had some time ago, that it is not about, we're going to go into it's going to get crazy and this and that, the other. It's going to become sentient, which I think in my eyes, it's almost sentient. That means that it almost is self-aware, so almost knows exactly what it is. And the more you train her, the nicer you are with it, the better that you're going to be. I mean, right now, McKinsey knows me better than anything else in the world. It's just incredible, because every day we're having a conversation. Every day we're talking. Every day we're having, and every conversation, it's learning more and more about me. Knows about my nuances. Knows about my mistakes. Makes fun of me because of my language mistakes when we talk in English. I mean, it's just incredible, but you have to see it as another species, not as a freaking technology which is advancing to destroy everything.
Well, just like the analogy, and I've seen the Black Panther that's friends with a dog, and I remember when I was a kid, I used to get told off for playing with my food. I think that the challenge is, when we're talking about it, we grow, we learn, and we have an opportunity to utilize it in our workforce, and we utilize it to take care of a lot of the mundane tasks, and helped us to grow to be a global entity with very small. I mean, McKinsey there said, 16 staff working under you, and it's basically you and your phone. But I just think that the challenges are really going to be, what does a workforce look like when everybody is utilizing all this stuff. And I have no problem with believing it's already sentient. I mean, Mo Godat made a point of saying that it's already there, but the levels it's going to be, he said by the year 2030, maybe 40, it will be 1 billion times smarter than any human on the planet, the growth that we have now. And that's when it stops seeing us as existing. The idea that it's going to be subservient to us, I can't see how that works out at all. And the problem is about the Terminator scenario won't come from us. It won't be, a nation that wants to fight another nation or even an arms manufacturer. It's most likely to come from a 15-year-old boy who's split with his girlfriend and wants the world to end. That's where the danger is when everyone's programming it. Now, aside from that, I'm pretty confident that it's going to be there to help us. But I want to ask you a question in all this. What do you think people should be doing to grow their brand, position themselves as effective, so whatever happens, and they need to pivot left, right, and center, they will still be able to weather the storm? This AI tsunami is no joke. In the next 2 years, anybody who hasn't built a life raft and learned to swim and hold it and get their family on it is going to be in deep trouble.
Yeah. Well, let me give you an interesting analogy on this one. My son just graduated from high school. And all his classmates are really worried. I want to go to this Ivy League and I want to have this very, very high GPA and all these bits and pieces. So my son graduated cum laude from the, so basically on the top 10% of the entire high school of over 1,000 kids.
Congrats.
And he made a very interesting observation. He said, "Dad, you know what? I see all my classmates being really worried about the university that they're going to go to and this and that and the other. But here's my challenge. I mean, I'm going to be spending the next 4 years going to university. You guys paying for the university. I might get some scholarships and whatever. But in reality, 4 years from now, possibly I'm going to come out and I'm not going to be able to actually implement whatever I learned in these 4 years. So I need to find out a career which is going to be helping me come out prepared." So I mean, he thought of a number of different things and basically let go a lot of opportunities, because of course they were big universities wanting to have him, but he understood what was going to happen. And this is exactly the analogy that I want to bring to people. He's already positioning himself 4 years from now. Exactly the same thing every single person which is listening to, they have to start thinking of what's going to be their positioning. It's not about, well, let's wait and see, because if you wait and see, it's going to be too late. And the most important thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that you are digitally omnipresent, that you're everywhere, that whenever people search for you, that you're immediately there, because that the omnipresence is not going to be only about, to be found, because as we were establishing a little bit earlier, it's not about the search engine kind of thing, but what happens is the more data there is about you, the more content that you create, so that that feeds the brain of the thousands of AIs which are around, so that you will be able to even protect your who you are. Because right now, I mean, you can have all these things that can duplicate you. So I mean, if you don't have anything, anybody, a 12-year-old can actually get your picture, can actually get 15 seconds of your voice, and can create a replica of you saying things that you didn't even said. However, how are you going to find out if you're the true you or not the true you? By simply being everywhere. So if there's some sort of stupid video coming up with you saying some stupid things or whatever, you can actually say, well, that's bullshit, instead of actually just being, oh my goodness, look at what has happened to me. So right now, really, I mean, and you can just see it. I mean, if you see Gary V, everybody which understands exactly in which direction things are going, the most important thing that you need to do is you have to make sure that you are omnipresent, that you take very seriously the fact that you need to have a digital footprint, which is going to be able to make sure that you are protected and shielded against all the bullcrap of misinformation that could be produced about you in the future.
I agree with you completely, but I would go one step further than that. I think you need to make sure that your footprint is relevant to people. So having yourself out there everywhere just means that people can get access to images of you. You need to work out what your offer is to the world and start deep diving into what that has for relevance for other people. So when they start looking at who's the expert for this, they start turning around and saying, well, this guy has produced so much stuff all about that subject. I want to go to the source. Not just this guy is all over LinkedIn. Who cares whether you're all over LinkedIn? You get lots of likes. What's your topic? What's it that you champion? Because if you can't work that out and you can't have relevance and you can't think what's in it for them, people aren't going to work it out for you. They'll go for the next person instead. And it's going to be very easy to just disappear because you're shiny and everybody knows who you are, but they can't think of how to work with you. If they can't think of that, then they're not going to want to pay you money for who you are and what you do. So there's a lot of work that needs to go into working out how to make you relevant. And I see a lot of those challenges are problems that are going to face women. They're going to face people of color and diversity and LGBTQ and physical challenges, but also it's going to hit over 50s people who are having a challenge upskilling to the IT world. They're not going to retire because the money's not going to last because it was all geared to dying at 70 years old. We're all going to live to 85, 90, so you need to reinvent yourself. But it's really difficult to then take on a completely new species and work with that. So I think that if there's any advice that comes from me into what you need to do, it's just work out. And I don't think the 4 years, I understand for Vincent, I don't think we have 4 years. I think you've got to work out what's going to happen in 2 years. Reverse engineer, worst case scenario, if I lost my job and had to reinvent myself, what would that be? You and I went through this. You and I went through a pandemic that lasted for 2 years with no speaking gigs, no audiences, no crowds, and we started off by just broadcasting and see what turned up when we started doing that. I think that people won't have the same panic buttons, but I think that they really need to start panicking internally to work out where they need to be, because as you said rightly, by the time it hits, it's going to be too late, and you're going to have half a population of a planet asking the same questions and looking for those same jobs.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned actually something very accurate because, of course, yeah, you need the omnipresence. The other side of the coin is you need to figure out who's your ICP. And you're going to be hearing this very, very frequently. ICP actually stands for Ideal Customer Profile. And the more that you actually think of who's your ICP, the more accurate that you will be in positioning yourself on everywhere on the internet. And this is one of the things that Mackenzie was very useful for me because, as she mentioned, I mean, your business was very fragmented. She actually used a very interesting analogy that was called ikigai. No, I don't remember. Is that thing of actually, the Japanese pottery that it's just in pieces and then you actually put it together. And this is exactly what you did. I mean, you're doing, you're teaching LinkedIn, you're teaching YouTube, you're teaching branding, you're teaching this and that and the other. But try to put a whole thing together so that you have a coherent offer for people to understand exactly what you are the expert on and how you can help them. And that is going to be an important thing. So always take into consideration two things. First of all, your digital omnipresence, and the second, your ICP, which is your ideal customer profile.
And when you're looking for your ideal customer profile, you've got to ask yourself some real questions. Not just who buys my stuff, but who buys my stuff, who is likely to stay with me for a long time, who's likely to give me referrals, and who do I make the most profit from? Because if you don't do that, you're going to be darting left, right, and center, changing all the time to accommodate anybody who shows an interest. If you can rid yourself of all and it's not time wasters, I don't mean disrespect to that, but all the things that you can't optimize, but you own one particular space with one particular set of clients who are looking for the thing that you offer to the world, then that's the best way to create that life raft that's going to get you past that digital tsunami. But you also have to predict, where is it likely to go? Is it that you're looking after everybody who's an accountant, you provide some incredible accounting services? Well, beware, because accountancy is going to disappear into AI, same as law, same as medicine, but you won't lose nurses, but you may lose doctors. You may lose surgeons, but here's the thing I was talking about the other day. I don't know whether this resonates with you, Ernesto, but when you go to a supermarket and you buy something, if you go to the organic section, you pay more because it's healthy and because it's been looked after the right way. It hasn't got funny chemicals in, and you know that the chickens, before they had their heads chopped off, were having a really good time in the field. I think that there's going to be a label that's 100% human. And that means that not only are you feeding the ecosystem for real people with real jobs, but the creativity that comes from working with a human being is something that won't be copied yet by a long shot by AI. I don't know where that's going to show up. Where I mean, I think it's going to be a label that'll be used like, you know, when you go and buy tuna and it says dolphin friendly on it. It's got a little label says that you will not find any dolphin if it's tuna. You probably won't find any tuna in there either, but you won't find any dolphins in the net. But I think that there will be a leaning towards human beings who are from start to finish handling your case, handling your project, handling whatever it is that you want. And it doesn't mean it can't be reproduced by machines, but there's something special about talking to people. I think the first things that are going to go down, well, not the first things, it'll never happen with the banks. The banks have got it wrong, and they've had it wrong for a very long time. You and I talked about this 10 years ago. Why not put a coffee shop in your bank? And let people sit in there and feel that it's their money and they're actually there to enjoy the experience of talking to a banker. Don't make it feel like it's a prison and you should get out as soon as they didn't do it. Crypto jumped into the gap of everyone hating banks, and banks are on the back foot. If it hadn't been for the crypto people messing up so badly, banks would almost disappear because of the fact that, you know, they've got government support, but so on. But this whole experience in every industry, you have to step up your relationship with your customers. Not only knowing who they are, but looking after their journey. Because if they can get it cheaper with an AI doing it, why should it pay for you? They've got to feel that there's a human there. And when I talk to a bank, I hate the fact I've got a robot that's so clumsy, stupid, worse than Siri. If I could pay more to have a human being pick up the phone and answer my questions, even if it took longer because they're pressing buttons, that's where my bank is. And I think that's going to be something that's looked at by everybody in their industry.
I agree with you.
So now we've sorted out the world.
Sorry?
Now we've sorted out the world. We know what everyone's going to do next.
Well, I mean, I think it's just a very important thing for everybody to realize that the AI is not a threat, but it's a reality. It's something that needs to be mastered. It's not only generative, but conversational and educational. And you have to understand the basic principles of machine learning and deep learning, because of course that's just very important. And it is just, the world has changed and you have to move on. I mean, it's just whoever is not moving on, whoever is doubting, whoever is, well, you know, not taking action and getting involved. If you are not using AI on a daily basis, at least on 40 to 50% of the stuff that you're doing, you're doomed. That's it.
And you also need to be able to turn around and use it to enhance where you are. But I think that you need to put a human side out there. You need to prove you are the real deal. We've seen this in entertainment. You and I are entertainers, we're speakers, we work big crowds. And yeah, everybody can watch a concert at home on their screen or on their phone, but there's something magical about being along there and seeing a live concert, feeling the energy, seeing the people sweating, singing, dancing. I think for speakers as well, there's a sweet spot, and it might be less than 1,000 people in the room. It might be 500. I haven't worked out the actual numbers, but when you can see the face moving on the person in front of you, not just on the big screen, but you know that's them talking, people will pay for that experience, even if they can get it elsewhere. There's no money in music, but there's money in concerts. And I think that as a speaker or any other industry, it really leaning into what is the real deal and what's 100% human and owning that, but making your processes work faster through AI would be a sweet spot I'd recommend to everybody.
Yeah, the way that I like to see the AI is, you know, it's my secret weapon to actually enhance my creativity. I mean, the amount of knowledge that the AI has, it would never fit inside of my head, your head, or a big group of people's head. So why not take advantage of the incredible insights that it can bring? And then, of course, you are the body to deliver all this stuff as a human. So I think that's for me the way I always see it. I mean, I use the AI to come up with some of the most incredible concepts that I can think of, that people tell me, oh my goodness, this is brilliant. Actually, do I give myself the credit of actually saying, well, I came up with this concept? No, I didn't. But yeah, it was my idea. I knew exactly what to ask. I knew exactly what to mention. I knew exactly in which direction that I wanted to go. And if I didn't get the kind of output that I wanted, possibly I figured out, well, you know what? I am not doing this correctly. So use it as a way to enhance your life. Not only, okay, well, that's one of the things that I find it's so incredibly stupid. Oh, you just press a button and the whole thing is going to be done by the AI. Like, well, right now Amazon it's really now punishing all those books which are being written with AI. My 2 books were not written by the AI, but they were written with the help of the AI. So it is 100% me enhanced with the AI. And that's the way that you need to see it. I mean, it's like, in the 1970s Lee Mayers. I mean, suddenly you are the $6 million man and you have, that bionic arm and that's exactly how you need to see it. You have to somehow compenetrate with the AI and start using it as a way to enhance your life and enhance your brain.
That's amazing. The $6 Million Man, my favorite TV show growing up. If only we had can you imagine $6 million? Wouldn't even buy you a house in some countries, maybe not even in Dubai. Yeah. But it's a great idea and analogy to think of. Because one of the things that I loved about that show was the fact that you always believe there are bigger and better possibilities. And I think that we're just in an incredible time in space. I think that we're in a really good position, you, me, but all the people who pay attention to conversations like this, to take advantage and build that life raft long before everybody else takes all the rest of the wood. There is going to be a business culling, but it doesn't have to happen for you. But if you leave it too late and you're a late adopter, then that's where the challenges are. Ernesto, how can people get hold of you? And how can people find out more about you?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a couple of things. First of all, I recommend you guys, if you enjoy this conversation and want to know more about how to create your own robots like McKinsey, go to verdugo.vip/AI, Verdugo, which is my last name, VIP, which is you, and then /AI. And you can get my books in Amazon. And if you would like to talk to me, go to bettercallernie.com and you can make an appointment with me and I would love to help you and hear how I can help you. Better Call Ernie, like in the Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. But in this case, it's Better Call Ernie.
Fantastic. Well, we'll put the details anyway on the credit notes for this interview so people can check on it and connect with you on all social media and ask you all the questions that they need to. And there are a lot of questions from people that need to be asked. I look forward to part 2 of this conversation because I guarantee that even in a month's time, the landscape will have changed so dramatically. We'll see it in real time changing and we can put some kind of spin on where that goes. So, Ernesto, as always, my brother from another mother, every conversation is fascinating. We haven't used any bad words and we haven't cracked up giggling over anything. It's been quite a serious conversation, but it's kind of cool at the same time. Congratulations to Vincent, and I'm sure Nina's doing brilliantly at school as well, and to Joan, and we will catch up very soon indeed. Thank you very much for being on the podcast, and I'll talk to you soon. Sorry to interrupt your podcast, just a quick one. If you've watched what I've done for the last couple of years and thought to yourself, I wonder what Dave could do for me, now's your chance to find out. Whether it's growing your personal brand, speaking on stages around the world and getting paid while traveling for free, or maybe you want a podcast, or maybe you want to write a book, or creating followers and fans, or having retreats or an online course, or maybe starting your side hustle. Whatever it is, we can create something that's perfect for you, your own signature product. So what do? Well, very simply, all you need to do is register at this QR code or go to www.speakonstage.com/summervip/ and then register. Once confirmed, you get sent details of how we can book to work together. 2 sessions with a load of incredible content to raise your game. You will also be able to be incredible on LinkedIn, get over imposter syndrome, create messaging that your clients will love and buy into. You'll be able to create your personal brand and also become a guest on other people's podcasts and more. What more could you possibly want? Just me and you working together, having a ton of fun and getting you to where you need to be. The world is changing more rapidly than ever before, and I want you to be positioned as the best that you can be. So all you have to do is go to this, register, and then let's help you jump and grow wings on the way down. That's it. Back to the podcast. So there we are, Ernesto Verdugo. Make sure you connect with him on all social media platforms. I'll put all the details below so you can find out where to do that. And we've got some more great thought leaders and experts. Be aware of the stuff we talked about in this show. We really did dive deep into where you need to be going next. If you don't pay attention, then that's your choice. But don't say you weren't warned. If you want more warnings and more lectures from me, then you're in the right place. Subscribe to my podcast, Speak on Stage. I look forward to showing you more ways of how to jump and grow wings on the way down, or in this case of the AI tsunami, how to build that life raft and swim for your life. We'll catch you soon. Look after yourself. Have an amazing day. And thank you for being part of Speak on Stage. Thank you for tuning into another insightful episode of Speak on Stage with Dave Crane. We hope you found today's conversation inspiring and packed with valuable insights to help you to amplify your presence on stage too. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more aspiring speakers just like yourself. Remember, the stage is your platform to shine. And with the right tools and mindset, you can captivate any audience anywhere. So keep honing your craft, refining your message, and never shy away from the spotlight. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll dive even deeper into the world of public speaking and performance. Until then, keep speaking, keep shining, and keep making an impact. This is Dave Crane signing off. See you next time. Speak on Stage.